Hey Fixer family, it's Charmin. Welcome to Fixin' To.
Here's some items that we're going to be using that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I picked up this bunny form that is got a plastic form with some of this little tinsel covering, but we're going to use this chunky yarn that I picked up back at Christmas from Walmart. We may or may not use some of these carrots. We're going to be using some of these leftover florals that I have from the Dollar Tree. And we may or may not use some of this ribbon. I'm not real sure about that. And of course, we're going to be using our hot glue gun. So of course, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to prepare our bunny by removing the tags and then simply removing this tinsel. Now, this tinsel comes off super easy and it's going to come off all in one piece. And so if you can just easily find the end of the tinsel, then just begin to unwrap it by taking it off of these little plastic like teeth around it that they're wrapped around. So you just kind of zigzag and go back and forth, and you'll be able to easily remove the tinsel from the form.
Now that we have the tinsel completely taken off, we are ready to add our chunky ribbon, or excuse me, chunky yarn. I love this stuff. And easily done. We're just going to take the end of it and we're going to start at the neck. And what I do is I kind of fold it around to the back, and I don't use any glue at this point because it really winds up holding really well. And so I just kind of fold it over and begin to kind of wrap it around exactly the same way we took off the tinsel using the little teeth that are around the edge of it. And it's just super simple. I just begin to go back and forth, and I began to realize that a little bit it was losing, I guess you could say, creating some gaps. And so what I wind up doing after wrapping it a little bit, I then take it and I'm going to pull it through the middle and kind of wrap it around a couple of times. And I'll do that and then start back with the back and forth around the little teeth. And I do this about 3 times on this bottom part, and it does 2 things. 1, it helps to fill in those gaps, and 2, it really helps to secure this chunky yarn onto this form. It is so easy, and it was really pretty satisfying going back and forth and kind of weaving it in and out. Now that I have gotten back up here to the neck, you'll see that I'm going to wrap it around one final time, and then I'm going to start up one side of the head and then carry that up the ear. Once we reach the top of the ear, we're going to leave a little bit of a tail and then cut it off, and then take that tail and glue it down the back of the ear, and then continue on the other side. I think it'll be pretty self-explanatory as you watch the video. Now we're ready to start on the other ear. Now I kind of pull a little piece up through the middle of, in between the ears there, and just kind of glue it down. And then we're going to begin to do the same weaving motion going up the other ear and then bringing the tail down back behind it, but we're not going to cut this piece off, because once we glue it down the back, then we'll be able to continue it down the other side of the head. I hope that this makes sense in what we're doing here. And if you have any questions, make sure that you just ask me down in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you any way I can. It really is, once you get working in it, it's a very simple process. Now we are ready to make it all pretty. I'm going to be taking some of the florals that I had, and what I like to do is just begin to kind of stick pieces and different florals in different places. Just kind of, I have an idea in my head, but once I kind of start playing with them and putting them in different places and seeing where I want them, then of course I will, once I get it set, then I'll be ready to make it more permanent and glue it down. And as you see, I'm also taking the little flowers off of the wire stems that they come on. Don't be afraid to do that. I mean, definitely cut things apart, begin to pull things apart and use the pieces that you really like from them, and it begins to come alive and make it your own. Now that we have our design ready, we are ready to make this more permanent. We're ready to glue it down. And I just begin to take the hot glue and put it down. And as you see, I'm kind of using one of these wire stems to help keep me from burning my fingers. So this turns out absolutely beautiful. I hope that you have enjoyed the first project so far in my top 5 Spring Easter decor pieces. I'm so excited to bring them to you. And I also wanted to say, if this is the first time you are coming to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Consider sticking around and becoming a part of the Fixer family by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload new videos. Now, I upload videos every Friday, and I would hate for you guys to miss a single one. Now let's go ahead and get back into these fun projects that I have for you. Let's jump right into what we need to make this beautiful centerpiece. Now this box I already had, and I think I picked it up at TJ Maxx a while back ago, and then I'm also just reusing some of the foam from a previous floral arrangement. You'll need some wire cutters, and then of course an array of different florals. Now these florals, I picked up this bunch here at Home and only paid $7.99 for it. Guys, this was a great buy, and these are these beautiful kind of peachy pink ranunculus, I guess is how you say that. They're beautiful. And then Walmart has really stepped up their game in the florals that they're, the silk artificial florals that they're carrying. And this is I think a eucalyptus bunch, and it has some cute little white flowers on it, some of course, eucalyptus and lamb's ear, and I paid, I believe, $3.99 for that. And then I have this beautiful lavender from Walmart, I think $2.99 for that. And then these two bunches, these crocus, I guess is how you say that, from the Dollar Tree, and also some of these beautiful roses, all kind of in that same color palette from the Dollar Tree. So the first thing that we're going to do, of course, with all of our florals is we're going to take, and using our wire cutters, we're going to go ahead and cut each individual piece apart. Now, of course, we'll be adjusting and cutting off, but I always like to cut them all the way down to the bottom so that then I can, as I'm putting them in the arrangement, I can then begin to clip them off to the size that I actually need for the section I put it in. So we're just going to remove all of those, and we wound up doing all of our flowers as well. And now we're going to begin to put them into our box. Now, a little tip with doing any floral arrangement that I have found is that I'm going to take and I'm going to put all of my greenery in first. Now, this is kind of like my filler. And what you do on one side, you're going to do on the other side. And around the bottom of the box, I usually take, because they're all on that wire, and I just bend them just a little bit to give them, you know, a little bit of a flare so that it kind of makes the arrangement pretty full. And so again, like I said, what you do on one side, you're going to make sure that you do on the other side. So we're just going to go ahead and continue filling in with our different pieces and get this completely ready for our flowers. Now we're ready to add our beautiful flowers, and I'm going to start with the bigger flowers that we have and begin to place them in there. And remember, what you do in the front, or should I say what you do on one side, make sure that you do it on the other side. And one thing that you'll see me do throughout pretty much this whole arrangement is you'll see me adjusting, and you guys know that I do this quite a bit. I will put something in, take it out, you know, adjust it. And for my arrangements, of course, adjusting means to kind of trim off the bottom of the wire. And that's why I said we're going to cut them all down as close to the big part of the stem as possible. And that way you can put them in, see if you like it. And then if it's still a little too tall, you can take it out and you can trim it to make it just the size that you want. And because we're not gluing this into the foam, now you can do this to make this a more permanent arrangement, but because we're not gluing it into the foam, it's super easy to take out and put back in. And you'll see right here, because I cut that one I wanted it a little bit closer to the box, I'm going to go in and be taking out all of my flowers and doing the same thing and begin to put them in there. You'll also see that my greenery was a bit too tall for what I was going for. So I took all of it out, trimmed it down, especially the ones there on the top, and just began to place the flowers in there like I wanted them. And gosh, it's already turning out absolutely beautiful for me. And I'm going to save a few of the smaller flowers for a little bit later on. But now I'm bringing in these roses from the Dollar Tree. And you also see that on these roses, they have a little bit different color leaf than what the greenery is, the kind of, I guess you could say, the main part of my greenery. And I contemplated taking that greenery off, but then I thought, no, it brings in another dimension. So I basically push that greenery up to the flower and use it kind of also as a filler. And as you're putting them in, it helps to fill in those holes. And again, like I've said, probably will say a number of times, don't forget that what you do on one side, make sure that you do on the other side. And also you're going to create, you can create triangles, you can create squares. And what I mean by that is having 3 points of flowers, or having 4 points. You can put two of the same size flowers together, You're just basically wanting to take and fill in. So now I'm putting in this beautiful lavender. Guys, I absolutely love lavender. I love the smell of lavender. I love the look of lavender, of course, because purple is my favorite color. And I think that adding this purple adds this awesome dimension to this arrangement. And so I'm taking and putting them in, and realizing too that I also needed to start putting in some of the smaller flowers, and I'm using the crocus to kind of use those as fill-ins. And that's what you do. You start with your larger flowers and move down to your smaller flowers so that you can use those smaller ones to fill in those gaps. And it is just turning out absolutely beautiful. As I begin to look at this, I see that my lavender is just a little bit too tall for what I'm going for. So again, I'm pulling them out, and then I'm cutting off the bottom and putting them back into the spot where I took them from, and creating it, bringing it just kind of more down to the size that I want it. So now we are ready to put in our final few flowers, and I saved a couple of the smaller ranunculus to put into some empty spots that I may see, and I have 2 of those and then 2 of the buds that I thought was absolutely adorable. And of course, remembering to because I'm putting it on the edge on this side, and I'm going to take the bud and I'm going to put it in there with that flower and create kind of a 2 together, and then just kind of filling in with the other 2, and then I'm just going to place the last bud right dead center. There's a little hole there, and it's a perfect spot for it. What do you guys think? I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of this beautiful centerpiece. And if you're like me, you probably have some florals lying around with a box to put them in and can create something super beautiful. Now don't forget that I am over on Instagram. I am at Charmin_fixin'2, and I would love for you guys to come over and say hi. Now I have been a little bit, I guess you could say, neglecting my stories and maybe putting a few posts on there from time to time, but I am definitely getting back into that, and would love for you to come over and connect with me just a little bit more on a personal level. So back into these fun projects. Let's go.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this project. The first thing you're going to need is this bunny garland that I got from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using the little bunnies as templates. You're going to need a scrap piece of wood that one of the bunnies can fit on. We're also going to be using this acrylic paint in the color Burnt Umber. And also for the first technique, we're going to be using this spray paint by Rust-Oleum. It's in the color Blossom White. And you'll need some damp paper towels. Let's get started. Now, of course, this technique that I'm doing here at first is called a paint stain technique. And I did it in more detail in a previous project, and I'll make sure that I have it listed in the iCards above and down in the description box below for you. But basically it's you're painting, putting your paint onto the wood and then taking it off with wet paper towel or rag or whatever. And what that does is that allows the grain of the wood to still come through, and it looks like a stain, like you've stained it. But one of the neat things about this is that it dries a whole lot quicker than stain does. Now, I still love using my stain, but this is something if you've got a really quick project and you want to, you know, get that effect, that stained effect, you can do this and it'll dry a lot quicker. Now we're going to take our bunny and we're going to remove the tail. You wind up having to cut it because it was glued on there pretty good. And then take a piece of masking tape or painter's tape, and those two little holes in the top, we want to put that tape on there and cover that up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take and lay it down, spray it, and voila, there you have it. Nice and sprayed. And so while it's drying, I'm going to show you a little bit about this. And what the spray paint technique does is you see that it kind of gives it a little cloudy effect down around the edges, at the bottom, and really just all the way around, because the paint does get up underneath it because we didn't glue it down or anything like that. We're going to set that aside and let it finish drying, and I'm going to show you the second technique. Now, of course, we're going to take our little bunny, and you don't have to worry about covering up the two little holes. So we're going to take some white acrylic paint, and we're going to take a sponge paintbrush, and we're going to begin to paint around it by using the dabbing motion. And this is typical for any of your stenciling that you do. You use that dabbing motion, and we're going to just do that all the way around and cover up all of the brown of the wood. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, and you will have some bleeding because it's not sealed around, but that's okay because that's kind of part of this technique and how it's going to look. So we get all of the brown covered up, and we'll remove our little bunny, and you'll get to see kind of what that looks like. There's that. And we're going to also take our hair dryer, because you know me, I'm a little impatient when it comes to doing some of the projects. We'll make sure that this is good and dry, and then we're ready to move to the next step of this technique, and that's going to be distressing. Now, with the acrylic paint, as you begin to sand, you will see that a transfer of the paint that got onto the sandpaper will then begin to transfer over a bit to the bunny, and that's okay. This is the look I'm going for here. It helps you to kind of gives it more of a distressed look. It kind of gives it that softer look and everything. And I'm just taking my time, not getting real hard with the sandpaper, because I just want it lightly distressed in some places. And so I'm just taking my time, also kind of going around the edges of the bunny to clean things up. Giving you a little bit of a closer look here as to how it looks, and starting to wipe it down and take off the dust, and you'll see how the white has now kind of become an off-white color. And then I'm going to take the sandpaper and transfer some of that paint around the edges. I'm also going to do the same sanding effect on the spray painted bunny. Now with this one, you're not going to get as much transfer onto the bunny as you did with the acrylic paint, because it doesn't produce that much dust. But I still wanted to give it a little bit of a rustic look. So again, with all of my projects,
take them and make them your own. Do what you like to do with them, and you're going to come up with some great projects, I know. Now we're ready to take our little bunny tails and put these on our cute little bunny butts. And there they are. They turned out so stinking cute, and I would like to know which one of these cute little bunnies did you like? Did you like bunny A, which is our spray painted bunny over here? Or did you like our bunny B, which is our acrylic paint? Let me know in the comments below. Here are some items that we're going to use for this project. Now, I picked these up at Big Lots, paid like $3 for them. They're just little candlesticks, and they were on clearance, and we'll be using those, but you don't necessarily have to. We're going to be using this Spanish moss that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. Also, these little glitter eggs that I also picked up from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using this blue paint from Apple Barrel, and also black acrylic paint from Apple Barrel, and of course paintbrush. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our eggs, and I'm going to be making 2 nests, and so I want 3 eggs per nest. And really and truly the color doesn't really matter. I kind of was trying to pick, I think, the lighter colors or something, but anyway, it really doesn't matter which ones of these you use, but I just pulled out 6 of them. And really simply, the little ribbons that are on the ends of them pull out so easy. I mean, you just barely tug them and they come right out. So I removed all of the ribbon. So now we're just going to get ready to paint these eggs. And the blue that I'm using from Apple Barrel is the blue bonnet blue. Now, it did dry just a little bit darker than I thought it was going to, and you can lighten it up with some white paint, but it really is fine with what I'm doing with this project. I mean, I really like it. So what I'm doing is taking a little skewer, and the little hole where the ribbon came out of, I'm just sticking them on there, kind of help keep some of the paint off my hands, which I'm a crafter. Inevitably, I'm going to get paint on my hands somewhere. So we're just going to get all of these eggs painted this super cute blue color. Now you'll see right here where I'm going to grab another skewer and use it to kind of help get the little egg off of the skewer. But of course, you know, you see I got paint on my hand. So we're going to get all of these painted, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to make these cute little speckly robin eggs. Of course, I'm going to, before we do the speckling, I'm going to use my hair dryer once again to get these dried quickly so that we can move on with our project. So now we're ready to speckle these, and I've taken like a paper top box. You can, you know, do it wherever you feel comfortable doing it, and I just took a little bit of water and some black paint and just basically took the paintbrush, tried to get this excess off that I could, and I'm going to take and just kind of begin to tap the paintbrush over my eggs. And you'll see that some of these eggs got a little, maybe like too big of the speckles, and it ran just a little bit because it was the first of it. And you can fix that, very easily fix that. Once you get your eggs pretty much speckled over, the ones that you want to fix, I'm gonna take a paper towel and I'm gonna dab off, since it's still a little wet, go ahead and dab that off, and then I'm just gonna repaint it. I'm gonna go ahead and take my blue and just paint right over it, and then I will speckle it once again. Ready to make our cute little nest for these eggs. And I'm gonna take my Spanish moss, and there's really no like exact measurement of what you're looking for. Of course, the more moss you use, the bigger the nest, the less you use, the smaller the nest. And so I'm just gonna tear off some of this moss in kind of the size that I'm looking for. And I kind of pull it to where it's long ways like this, and then I'm going to circle it around, and I hope this makes sense, and then just begin to work it with my hands. I'm going to tuck, pull, and just begin to kind of make a bowl underneath it kind of with my fingers, and begin to just kind of work it to where it all comes together. You can kind of see where it's starting to form that little nest area down in the middle. And you'll just kind of play with it, mold it, shape it, fix it, and it's really that simple. Once you get it the size you're looking for, you get it to where it's all together, then we're going to get our little eggs and place them inside. How stinking cute is this nest. I love it. And again, guys, it's less than $1 to make it because you're not using all of your products. And here are the two ways that you can do these. You can just have the nest by itself, or you can place it on a candle stand like I have here. Really make it your own. So here's what we need for this project. Now, I made this box last year out of scrap wood, but if you've got any kind of box, you'll need something like this. You'll need the floral foam to go inside, some twine. I got this from Walmart, but you can use whatever you have on hand, Dollar Tree, wherever. I also went to the woods back behind my house and just cut some of these different size twigs. The smaller, kind of skinnier ones for the two crosses on the side, and then a larger, kind of fatter one for the main cross. You'll need some floral moss. Pick this up at the Dollar Tree, as well as these faux moss covered stones, and also, of course, our trusty hot glue gun. So let's get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm taking my little sticks here, and I'm going to be creating, of course, the crosses from them. And we're going to just take a little bit of hot glue and hold the I guess you could say the cross piece onto the longer piece with just a little dab of hot glue, holding it into place, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now we're going to take our twine and we're going to lay it with a little bit longer, of course, onto the other side and kind of take it at an angle on the front. I hope you can kind of see what I'm doing right here. And then we're just going to take and tie a knot onto the back of our cross, and leaving that tail, we're going to leave that there so that when we're done doing the wrapping around, we can tie it again. And basically we're going to just begin to do a kind of a crisscross wrapping, hope that makes sense to you, on all three of our crosses, tying it into the back and then putting a little dab of hot glue on it to help kind of hold it into place so it doesn't come unraveled. Now that those are done, we're going to set them aside. We're going to grab our box and of course put in our foam. Now you can fill it completely up. I didn't completely fill it up, but I got enough in there to give me the spacing that I needed for my crosses. And I usually like to keep the plastic on my foam. I don't know why, I just do. And so I took a pair of scissors, found the center, and poked a little hole in there. And I'm going to put some hot glue on there. That'll help to hold the cross because I'm not sticking it way far in. And I'm just going to do that in the center cross, and then of course I'm going to be doing the same with both of the smaller crosses on either side. Now that those are in, we're ready to put our floral moss in. And of course I had some left over in a Ziploc bag, so I'm going to use it first. And of course this is the messy part, but I think that this is a really good, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a real neat accent that you put on things like this. And we're just going to take our hot glue and begin to just smear it on the bottom down there and place our floral moss. Now, of course, every little piece of floral moss is not going to be stuck down, but for the most part, you know, you're going to have it to where it's sticking. And I'm just going in and filling in the empty spots. And then I think I kind of wanted a little bit more on there to make it look full. And now we're ready to add our stones here, and I just kind of placed them where I felt with my eye that it looked good. And again, if you have these and are able to put them on there, you put them wherever you would like, and just make it your own as always. I also had these flowers left over from a previous project, and I thought that this would be a really nice touch to add them to the bottom of the main cross. And once I kind of got everything situated where I wanted them, you'll see that I'm going to go in, and of course I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue so things don't fall off, roll off, all of that. So we're just kind of sticking things where we want them and then gluing them down. I hope that you have enjoyed these projects as much as I did. These are some of my absolute favorites, and I wanted to make sure and share those with you. So make sure that you let me know down in the comment section below which one was your favorite. It's hard for me to choose because, like I said, I love them all. Well, I know that you guys are super blessed. And if no one has told you today, you are amazing. And always remember to keep looking up, because that's where it all is. I'll see you on the next video.